Available until May 22nd, the two free decks on the Temporal Forces Battle Pass are Raging Bolt EX and Iron Crown EX. But even after leveling up the Battle Pass, both are still somewhat lacking. In this video, I'll give you a quick rundown on how to improve each deck so you can beat people off in Great League and Ultra League, while also showing you how many credits it will cost to get there. As a quick reminder, you receive 1,250 credits for free from Tier 0 of the Basic Battle Pass, plus 1,500 credits from Tier 0 of the Premium Battle Pass, so you'll have at least 2,700 credits to begin with. To put that number in context, it's enough for 4 Pokemon EX as well as a few trainers. Having played both decks for several hours, I can confidently say that Iron Crown EX is much better overall, while Raging Bolt can take bigger KOs. If I had to choose one for you to upgrade and focus your credits on though, it'd be Iron Crown EX by a wide margin. Because it's on the Basic Battle Pass though, I'll kick things off with Raging Bolt. Put simply, the default version of Raging Bolt is unplayable. Unless you get super lucky with Energy Sticker coin flips and Gutsy Pickaxe top decks, you're not going to win any games. It's honestly kind of impressive just how bad it is. The good news is that the Battle Pass provides a lot of the cards you need. The bad news is that the only cards you want to keep from that original list are what you're seeing right now. Yeah, it's a bit of a gut job. Thankfully, after playing Raging Bolt for an entire stream, I've learned that the best version is the Sandy Shocks EX build. There are several other ways to play Raging Bolt, with Palkia V-Star, Mirage Gate, and even Gardevoir EX, but Sandy Shocks was my favorite, and that just so happens to be what you earn for free from the Battle Pass. Since the camera I installed in your house is only pointed at your feet, I don't know when you started playing live, so I can't tell which free decks you've claimed in the past couple of years or what's in your collection. As a result, I'll talk about Raging Bolt as if you just started playing today. Alright, so in order to get Raging Bolt to a playable state, all you have to do is reach Tier 6 of the Battle Pass. Simply by doing your daily quests, you can get there in less than a week. At that point, you'll have 3 Raging Bolt, 3 Sandy Shocks, and a Prime Catcher. All of these are extremely important in stopping Raging Bolt from being Raging Bolt. You also get several Temporal Forces packs and a few hundred more credits along the way. After throwing in all of the free cards you get from reaching Tier 6, as well as all of the staple cards from the 8 free default decks for 2024, this is what your Raging Bolt deck will look like, all without spending a single credit. Aside from a handful of cards, it's what you'd see on the ranked ladder if people got bored of playing consistently good decks. I did have to add a few unnecessary cards like an extra Iono and Boss's Orders to get to 60 cards, but the core of the deck is there. Strategically, it's up to you whether you want to go first or second. First gets you an energy attachment, second gets you a chance to play a supporter and maybe take a knockout. However, because you rely so heavily on looping Professor Sada's vitality, you need to find them turn after turn, but the free version doesn't have a way to search for it. That's where you need to spend a few credits. Pokegear searches the top 7 cards of your deck and grabs you any supporter found there, making it perfect for getting Sada. So spend 400 credits to get 4. You also want 4 copies of Pokemon Catcher. Since Raging Bolt's supporter each turn is probably going to be Sada, you need item-based Gust to make sure you're knocking out the right targets each turn. It's a coin flip, but it is your best option. Counter Catcher is something else you could try, but Raging Bolt doesn't do a good job playing from behind, so regular Pokemon Catcher is better. Then there's 1 copy of Collapse Stadium, which allows you to bump a Mew EX or Squawkabilly EX that you had to put into play. This forces your opponent to go through Raging Bolts or Sandy Shocks rather than the weaker Mew or Squawkabilly. And finally, 2 Energy Switch. Because you end up with so many energy in the discard pile at the end of the game, you can use Sandy Shocks' ability to attach energy to itself, then energy switch it up to Raging Bolt. When all's said and done, this is the Raging Bolt EX deck you'll end up with. And best of all, the entire thing costs just 1,500 credits to build. All of the trainers you're missing are 100 credits each, while the Koraidon is 400 credits since it's a rare. The Koraidon is mostly there to deal with Mimikyu and soften up bigger targets, making it somewhat necessary. Once you get your fingers on this deck, I suggest praying to Arceus. Even at its best, you still need to draw well. My advice is to focus on knocking out 2 prize Pokemon only if you can. And Raging Bolt will be fairly weak early on, as Sandy Shocks' ability doesn't activate until your opponent has taken 2 prizes. So those early turns are important for setting up your endgame. If you want to see gameplay of Raging Bolt EX, I'll put a link to my video in the description, just be prepared for some frustrating moments. As for any improvements with Twilight Masquerade on May 23rd, there doesn't appear to be much. There's still some cards to be revealed, but for now, a copy of Carmine could be a thing. It can be played on turn 1 and discharge your hand to draw 5 cards. It's interesting, but I'm not sold on it in Raging Bolt since you kinda need Lumineon V to find it. One card that could sneak its way in is Unfair Stamp. You would lose Prime Catcher as your ace spec, but Raging Bolt rarely affects your opponent's hand. Now, if they take a knockout, you can put them down to 2 cards while you get 5. Unlike Raging Bolt, the free version of Iron Crown EX is playable as is. You'll bemoan the lack of consistency, but the fun Baby Iron Thorns provides will give you some crazy wins and some heartbreaking losses. This Iron Crown deck is claimed on the Premium Battle Pass, which costs 600 crystals. If you don't have 600 crystals, do your daily quest for 10 days and buy it. The Premium Pass is always worth buying, as I calmly mentioned in my previous video. Despite the name, Iron Crown EX is rarely going to be attacking. It's a support Pokemon that wants to remain on your bench the entire game. Because of that, you need to focus on alternate attackers. And since the Battle Pass rewards you with 3 copies of Iron Hands EX simply by reaching Tier 9, I'll focus on that build. So by getting the Battle Pass to Tier 9, which shouldn't take a week or so provided you do your daily quests, this is the Iron Crown EX deck you can build without spending a single credit. I had to add a few suboptimal cards to fill in the holes, but the base of the deck is here. Just like Raging Bolt though, making it tournament ready costs next to nothing. All you need to do is craft a copy of the new Miraidon EX, 2 Pokegear, 1 Counter Catcher, 1 Town Store, and 2 Heavy Baton. In total, that's just 1,200 credits, less than what you get for free at Tier 0 of the Premium Pass. I've put lists for all the decks in the description, so you can easily copy and paste them into Live and craft whatever cards you may be missing. With this list, it's all about spreading energy around and taking extra prize cards. You want to start things early by attacking with Baby Miraidon. Its attack does 40 base damage and accelerates 2 energy onto your future Pokemon. So load up an Iron Hands EX with energy thanks to Baby Miraidon, as well as your 4 copies of Electric Generator, and start swinging with Amp You Very Much. This attack takes an extra prize card if an opponent's Pokemon is knocked out, but it only has 120 base damage. Thankfully, between 4 copies of Iron Crown EX and a future booster, it can reach 220 damage. Yeah, it's scary. You can take 2 prizes on a weak Pokemon like Charmander or Comfey, or 3 prizes on a Pidgeot EX or Palkia V-Star thanks to weakness, or 3 prizes on a weak Pokemon V like Arceus or Giratina. And Baby Miraidon can soften people up to set up an Amp You Very Much. You will have to do a decent amount of math along the way, but you'll win a lot more with Iron Crown than you would with Raging Butt. The added benefit of the future archetype is its versatility. If you don't want to focus solely on Iron Hands EX, you can try to hit weaknesses and feature other future Pokemon like Iron Leaves EX to one-shot Charizard EX, Baby Iron Treads to one-shot Chenpao EX and Arceus V-Star, Iron Boulder EX for the mirror match, and even Iron Moth to one-shot Golden Go and Dialga V-Star. Those versions are also where you'd choose Reboot Pod as your ace spec over Prime Catcher, since you have so many different types of energy in the deck. Reboot Pod also allows for even more surprise Iron Leaves EX plays. I have a video showcasing the future decks, so check that out if you want to see how they function. Unfortunately, the main issue with all future decks is the lack of draw power. If you're not playing supporters, you're not drawing cards. Yeah, you can play Gift Energy, but that requires your opponent to not gust around the Pokemon it's attached to. So there will be times when you just have a bad hand and can't do anything about it. But when it works, it's taking extra prizes and shortening games, forcing your opponent to play faster than they normally would like to. Looking ahead to the future, Twilight Masquerade brings Iron Crown a great new card, Iron Thorns EX. As long as it's in the active spot, Pokemon with a rule box don't have an ability except future Pokemon. So that means Rotom V, Lumineon V, Squawkabilly EX, Radiant Greninja, Radiant Charizard, Mew EX, Charizard EX, Pidgeot EX, and many more highly playable Pokemon lose their abilities. The attack isn't terrible either, dealing 140 base damage and preserving an energy. So you can pair Iron Thorns with Iron Crown and nobody else, or add Iron Thorns as another attacker in a Future Box deck. While it does have a 4 retreat cost, Future Booster makes it free. And since it has a 4 retreat cost, it can also take advantage of Heavy Baton. While both decks are good once you add the necessary cards, I highly recommend focusing all of your credits on upgrading Iron Crown EX. Not only is it better than Raging Bolt overall, but it also gives you the most options for whacking off. If you have any questions about Pokemon TCG Live or the free decks, or if you have some upgrade suggestions of your own, leave them in the comments below.